Hey everybody, welcome back. Steven here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing, and today is another brew talk, another topic that has to do with home brewing. This one's kind of interesting. Piqued my interest because, I'm a big fan of breaking old stereotypes in brewing. A lot of times, I've said this before, you see old information that used to be valid, but it just isn't valid anymore. And people still hold on to doing things the quote-unquote old way when it just doesn't make sense to do it that way anymore. Anyway, so what we're talking about today is champagne yeast. Champagne yeast. Now, obviously, well, let me give you a quick preview of what I'm going to talk about here. So, I'm going to cover a few things. Number one, champagne yeast cannot ferment maltose very well. Now think about that, and I'm going to talk about it more. But maltose is the sugar that's in beer. Champagne yeast cannot ferment the sugar that's in beer very well. And by the way, some of this is stuff I already knew. A lot of this is research. Anytime I do these videos, I'm not just throwing stuff at you that I haven't researched. So if you think it's not correct, go do your own research. But this is what I've found to be correct, and then take that for what it is worth. All right. Second thing, you can't ferment champagne yeast. Cannot ferment something called maltotriose, which is also in beer, and that one it can't ferment at all. I'm not just saying not well. I mean, it can't ferment it at all. A lot of champagne yeast strains express a toxin that kills your regular brewer's yeast. That doesn't sound good. And lastly, it is a myth that pitching champagne yeast can unstick a halted, stalled fermentation. It's a myth. And that's what we're getting to today. I always get people who respond, put comments on how they've been doing it for all these years and this is how it's done. And yeah, well, things change. Ingredients change. One of the single biggest changes in brewing over the years that a lot of people haven't adjusted to is that our grains that we use today are highly modified compared to what they were when I first started brewing in the early 90s. So you may not believe it, but that changes a lot. The whole reason that you can do the short and shoddy brewing method, these real short boils and short mashes, is because of really highly modified grains. Anyway, that's a separate topic. So let's move on to the question that I want to pose, which is champagne yeast the beast? I love the way that rhymes. When it comes to fermenting, we've always heard that. That's what I've always heard. Champagne yeast is a beast, meaning it consumes everything, all the sugars, right? So that if you have a stalled fermentation, you can use champagne yeast to get at sugars that maybe your brewer's yeast can't ferment, and then it will help restart your fermentation. I've heard that, and I think that's always been at least one of the go-tos. There are other options, but that one is that's definitely been one of the options that a lot of brewers have used. I've tried doing it. So, is champagne yeast a beast? Well, the answer is yes. It's true. Champagne yeast is a beast. For wine, not for beer. Wine contains only simple sugars, right? Fructose, glucose, sucrose. It's not the same as beer. It's sugar that comes from fruit is a simple sugar. Any yeast can ferment simple sugars without any problem. Okay, easy. Wine yeasts are derived from the skins of grapes, right? The yeast, that wine yeast that they use, it derives from or was captured from the skins of grapes, which is where you find a lot of wild yeast is on the skins of fruit. And champagne yeast can tolerate a really high ABV, right? It can tolerate high levels of CO2. It can tolerate high pressure, and it can tolerate high acidity. And all of that still ferment simple grape sugars to very low levels. So is champagne a yeast, a beast? Yes, for wine. So compare wort and wine yeast. When I say wort yeast, I mean beer yeast, right? Versus wine. Right, we're talking brewer's yeast versus wine yeast when fermenting malt sugars. Malt sugars is what you get a lot of from the wort, from the grain. Champagne yeast and other wine yeast really cannot result in a high attenuation within a beer. Beer wort contains about 28% or so simple sugars that wine yeast can ferment easily, right? Any yeast, remember I said, can ferment those simple sugars. However, 61% or so of wort is malt sugars that wine yeast struggle or completely fail fermenting. Brewer's yeast is really well adapted to ferment complex malt sugars. Yeast preferentially ferment simple sugar before fermenting complex sugar. So the first sugars that a yeast is going to eat are the easy ones. It's like eating your dessert first, right? They go after the really simple sugars because they're super easy to digest, and then they're going to go for the more complex sugar when there's nothing else left. Any beer with a stalled fermentation is likely to have a very high amount of the simple sugars already fermented, right? Brewing yeast can ferment through the simple sugars just as easily as a wine yeast. So the vast majority of sugars that remain in that beer, once it's stuck, are complex malt sugars. And champagne yeast and other wine yeast just cannot ferment that malt sugar very well or at all. Now I know I'm going to hear or see the comments, but I swear it works. I put the champagne yeast every time I have a stalled fermentation and it works. It starts it up again. It fixes it. Are you guys familiar with a term called cognitive dissonance? I forget when I came across this term, but it's made so much sense to me in life ever since I've heard of it. Cognitive dissonance is one of those things that there's a topic, an idea that someone believes in, and they've always believed it. They've always felt that this is correct or true or works, and they believe in it so heartfelt and wholeheartedly that no matter what anybody says, no matter what facts you show, what kind of science you can prove that that they may be wrong or there might be a better way, they absolutely will not even consider what you're saying because they just believe without a shadow of a doubt that what their idea is correct. This happens a lot in religion and politics and the big topics, right? Where people are not willing to have conversations across the aisle or whatever because they are so locked in what they believe, they cannot open their self up to hearing the possibility that there may be another way, something's changed since their last time they believed or heard about such a thing. Anyway, cognitive dissonance. So it's kind of what's happening here is you can tell somebody champagne yeast really is not going to help you with the stuck fermentation, but is all you're going to get. Listen, holding on to that belief that champagne yeast can unstick a stalled fermentation, I mean, that's fine. You can waste your money on this yeast, on the champagne yeast, but there are better ways that do work to help with the stalled fermentation. Let's say, you know, what does happen? What could have happened if you add champagne yeast and fermentation seems to start up again? So you're assuming it's because of the champagne yeast, right? Well, one possibility is that it simply dried the beer down to levels to be possible that are not possible with ordinary brewer's yeast, right? Because champagne yeast, if it eats all the sugars, the simple sugars, everything, it's going to dry it out. So, sort of like a saison, right? Well, scientifically, that's not possible. Remember, I already talked about the fact that all the simple sugars have already been eaten. There's nothing left but the malt, the malt sugars, which the champagne yeast or any wine yeast really can't ferment very well. So it is not possible, really, scientifically, for a champagne or wine yeast to continue fermentation, making the beer dry. It's not possible because it can't break down those complex sugars. So what is causing that? What's causing this to make it look like the champagne yeast is fixing things? Well, number one, fermentation is maybe naturally becoming unstalled. It happens. The yeast is just taking a longer time to be able to do what they need to do. Maybe it's due to oxygen that was introduced into the beer. Did you open it and look in it to pour more yeast? The yeast, they get splashed. That could have caused the fermentation to start up again. Maybe there was not enough oxygen to begin with. Remember, yeast does need oxygen initially. Maybe you racked it to another vessel, which agitated the yeast cake. One common way of trying to restart a fermentation or get it going is to gently swirl, if you can. Depends how much. Obviously, if you're doing a huge batch, you can't do it that way. But if you can agitate the yeast gently, it can cause it to get reintroduced into your beer and start up the fermentation again. Maybe the beer was contaminated. Maybe a wild yeast got in. You opened it up to put the champagne yeast, and somehow you didn't sanitize the packet or something. Who knows? I don't know. But maybe somehow wild yeast got in. And of course, a wild yeast like a saison type yeast can definitely ferment unfermentable sugars that are normally unfermentable down to super dry. And last, and I'm sure this has never happened, maybe human error, like in the measurement. What? If you're measuring let me say it. It's good beer. If you're taking your gravity reading, if you misread, the actual measurement, or you have faulty equipment, there have been people who have hydrometers that are not calibrated correctly. Anything like that could happen and cause a mix-up on making you think the champagne yeast is working when it was something else that caused that stock fermentation to get started again. All right, almost done, almost to the end here. Let me get to that part I talked about at the beginning of the video. Champagne yeast is a killer. So a lot of wine strains, as a competitive adaptation, produce up to 3 toxins that kill other yeasts that are susceptible to those toxins. All right, let me say that again. A lot of times, wine yeasts, now when I say as a competitive adaptation, I mean that they've adapted to compete against other yeast strains, right? It's Darwinism. It's, survival of the fittest, right? And so they put out a toxin that kills other yeasts that are susceptible to that toxin. And guess what? All brewers' yeasts are susceptible to those toxins. All brewers' yeasts. Now, I was going to read out to you the names of those toxins, but it's one of those things, they're hard to pronounce, and I just thought there's only so much detail I want to give in these videos. I want to make sure that hopefully some of you get something out of this and maybe even go researching this on your own, and you can go look up some of this stuff. At any rate, there is one particular yeast, champagne yeast, that's very, very commonly used. Probably the most commonly used champagne yeast, EC1118. This is, again, one of the most popular champagne yeast strains. And guess what? It's a yeast killer. This yeast will kill your brewer's yeast. If you put it in and use that to try to stop your stuck fermentation, you're never going to get your brewer's yeast to start up again, because this sucker is going to put out toxins that are going to kill it. And that's just one example. I'm just pointing out, that there are, that's a potential that's going to happen. There is some exceptions to this. There is a wine yeast that I'd never heard of, but it's called K1 V1116. I don't know, why do wine yeasts have these numbers and codes? It's also known to be a good fermenter of maltotriose. I talked about that earlier, that maltotriose is completely unfermentable by pretty much every wine yeast, except this particular one. For whatever reason, it is really good at fermenting that particular item. However, I want to point out that even though it's good at fermenting that, it is also a yeast killer. So that one will also put out toxins that will kill your brewer's yeast. Now, a lot of these wine yeasts contain something that, if you've done any research with Saison yeast, and by the way, if it hasn't already come out, here's a little spoiler. I'm going to be putting out a really detailed video on Saison yeast. And one of the things that are in traditional Saison yeast, there are some that have been bred recently that don't have this, but the standard has something called an STA diastaticus gene. This gene is what will ferment normally non-fermentable sugars and will ferment them, and that's why Saison yeast traditionally make beer very dry. They have this genetic part of them, the diastaticus gene, that will ferment sugars that you shouldn't normally be able to ferment. And so the Saison beers can get extremely dry, like no sugar left at all, basically. And that can happen in some of these wine yeasts if they have that gene. All right. I don't have time in this video to go over it, but maybe at some point here in the future I can go over ways to start a stalled fermentation. I think I've made some videos on that already. You can search through my videos and take a quick peek, but I'm sure I'll do another one at some point here. That's all I had to say about champagne yeast. Use one of the other methods if you have a stuck fermentation. I would recommend not using champagne yeast with brewing, at least beer brewing. I shouldn't just say brewing. Beer brewing. It's just not very compatible. All right, I'll be back in another week with another beer talk. I might have a whiskey tasting. I might have a full brew day. I'm just getting ready as I make this video to bottle up some beer. So got stuff coming, always do. I'll see you then, and until next time, keep on brewing. Cheers.